So have you ever wondered whether it's ever okay to take a photo in auto mode? If so, that is a question that we're answering today because this is a question that was posted on my Instagram feed, and I know that many of you have the exact same question, so I wanted to come in and make sure that I answer it for you. Now, if you're new here, hello, my name is Audrey. I'm from Live Snap Love, where I help you master your camera so you can beautifully capture the people and moments that matter most. So for now, let's dive into that question. Is it ever okay to use auto mode? And my answer would be, first of all, what is the purpose of this shot? Is it simply to capture a moment in time? In other words, is the moment more important than absolutely anything else? If so, then of course it's absolutely fine to use auto mode. It's absolutely fine to take a snapshot. I take snapshots. I tend to do it with my iPhone rather than with my DSLR camera. But yes, I take snapshots. And I will sometimes hand that camera to my husband, pop it on auto mode so that he can take a photo of me. And I don't really have to worry about whether it's good or whether it's going to go on the wall, because all I'm concerned about is making a image of that moment in time. The moment in time is more important than anything else. If that's you and you do struggle in manual mode or anything else, then it's absolutely fine to use auto mode. You don't have to always shoot in manual mode. But what I would say is, if the purpose of the shot is something other than simply a snapshot, then I would consider using a different mode on your camera. So think of it like this. When you use auto mode, it's basically like handing your camera to a blind and deaf man and hoping that he'll take a picture with it. You're not telling him what's in the frame. You're not telling him whether you're shooting a landscape shot or a portrait shot. You're not telling them whether it is 1 people or 8 people in the frame. And you're not saying whether that person is moving or they're stationary. So you're basically handing that camera, and then the camera just has to guess at what's in front of it. And what it does in that situation is it chooses middle of the road settings. It doesn't know what's happening, so it tries to cover every eventuality, or as much eventualities as it can. So it doesn't know whether it's a landscape or a portrait, so it kind of goes in the middle there. Now, what happens when you have middle of the road settings is that you get middle of the road photos. So if it's a snapshot, then that's fine. We don't care if it's a middle of the road photo. But if we want something more than that, then we need to start telling the camera what to do. We need to tell it what it's taking an image of. Now, obviously, the best way to do this, the way that you get the most control over your images, is to shoot in manual mode. Then you're controlling absolutely everything. But there are little stepping stones that you can take toward that. So if you're not comfortable yet shooting in full manual mode, you can shoot in auto, but I would encourage you to take the next step, and that would maybe be to shoot in the scene modes. Now, the scene modes are basically a way of telling your camera what it is that it's photographing. So it's still automatic mode. You still don't have to do anything, but it's giving that clue to the camera, and it's saying, I'm taking a portrait style image, or I'm taking a sports image. And that way the camera knows, well, if I'm taking a portrait style image, I want to blur out the background maybe. If I'm taking a sports image, I want to make sure that I'm using that faster shutter speed. So it's a way of using auto, but giving your camera a clue about what it's photographing. And that's going to help you get better results instantly. If you feel like taking a bit more control of your camera, which I do recommend, then you can also shoot in one of the semi-automatic modes, like aperture priority mode or shutter priority mode. If you're photographing a portrait style shot, then aperture priority mode is your best bet. You're then going to choose the aperture, but the camera is going to choose the shutter speed and the ISO number for you and balance the exposure. So you only have to worry about one setting, but that does mean that you're taking that little bit of control to get better results. If you are photographing, say, your child or your grandchild on sports day, then you might want to choose shutter priority mode. That's when you choose the shutter speed and the camera chooses the ISO or the aperture number for you. Again, you only have to choose one setting, but it's going to help you get better results. And you can actually move a step further along from that. For example, you can shoot in aperture priority mode and choose the aperture and the ISO number and just let the camera choose the shutter speed. So you're gradually taking control of all three settings. And then if you feel comfortable, you can shoot in full manual mode. So there's certainly times when I shoot in aperture priority mode over full manual mode. They are few and far between, but I do that on the occasions where I am a little bit more concerned, where maybe moving around in different situations and I want to be able to react quickly. I will choose aperture priority mode over manual mode. When my main concern is getting a good shot, then I will switch to fully manual mode because that's giving me the most control. So I hope that answered the question for you. Is it okay to ever shoot in auto mode, and giving you some ideas of what you can do instead. You can find a free manual mode cheat sheet underneath this video if you want a little bit of help choosing your settings. Obviously that's going to help in manual mode, but also going to help you if you're shooting in aperture or shutter priority mode instead. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so you can stay in the loop for new videos. And that's it from me, and I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.